Vaccine developed by Rockland-based Pfizer and BioNTech have been delivered now in the UK in those super cold containers. The deliveries arrived yesterday before the immunization program starts, and it's being closely watched around the world. The British Health Secretary has reportedly dubbed tomorrow V-Day, a nod to triumphs in World War II. Now, last week, the UK became the first country to authorize the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for emergency use. Now, here in the U.S., vaccinations could begin later this month. On Thursday, the FDA will consider granting emergency use authorization for Pfizer's vaccine. If approved, the vaccine could be delivered as early as next Tuesday. That's December 15th. The first shots will go to healthcare workers and nursing home patients. Meanwhile, the FDA will consider emergency use authorization for Moderna's vaccine in 10 days from now. That's December 17th. The company's CEO says once the green light is given, millions of doses can be shipped out within 24 to 72 hours. Moderna saying its vaccine is more than 94% effective with no serious safety concerns. And as we wait for a cure, we continue to see record numbers of Americans being hospitalized for COVID-19 treatment. More than 101,000 people were in U.S. hospitals yesterday, according to the COVID Tracking Project. Experts say the rising numbers are putting intense pressure on our hospitals and our healthcare workers. We also know the pandemic is taking a toll on our kids and on their education. As we've reported, elementary and middle school students have fallen behind in math this year. That's according to NWEA, a not-for-profit that administers standardized testing, and it looked at data from more than 4 million students. The organization also noted a disproportionately large number of poor and minority students were not in school for fall assessments. NWEA said they may have opted out of the assessments, which were given in person and remotely, because they lacked reliable technology or stopped going to school. Happening today, back to school for the second time this year. New York City schools are back to in-person learning. Nearly 200,000 students will be heading back to the classroom, but not all New York City students are going back. Parents were out rallying, calling for middle and high school students to go back to buildings, but they continue with remote learning. Right now, there is still no plan for students in New York City's middle and high schools to make that return to the classroom. And today we are discussing education and the unique challenges we are all dealing with right now. Joining me is DrLiz Matheis. DrLiz is a licensed clinical psychologist and certified school psychologist. She's worked in the public schools as a member of the child study team, and she's also a mom of 3. And Lucille Ioconis is joining us. Lucille is the superintendent of the Massapequa Public Schools on Long Island. Thank you both for being here this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, do remember we want you to join in on this conversation for the next half hour. You can watch us here on News 12. You can also watch us on your phone, on your computer, on your Facebook page. There you can be a part of this conversation by entering your comments and your questions. So as we know, the COVID rates are climbing again in our area, and there's mandatory testing that's going to happen in some of the yellow zone schools in New York. So Mrs. Ioconis, let's start with what that undertaking is like for your district.
Certainly. Back on Monday before Thanksgiving, we received notification from the governor's office that as per executive order, the Massapequa Park zip code of 11762 was placed in the yellow zone. Now, in the Massapequa School District, we have 2 zip codes, 11758, which is Massapequa proper, and then the park 11762. But they identified the park as being a yellow zone area. We were one of only 2 districts on in Nassau County that was placed in the yellow zone, Massapequa and Great Neck. So that was, okay, what do we do now? The requirements and the mandate there is that we test 20% of our combined population of faculty, students, and staff. But what I want to clarify is that this was totally voluntary for all individuals. So parents had the option last week, I did send out notification. If they wanted their child to participate, they needed to sign consent forms. So we do have, I want to say, just over 20% of our students, faculty, and staff that have volunteered for testing. I don't want people to be confused that this is every child that walks through, the schoolhouse doors will be tested. That is not the case at all. So we have set up testing to occur this week. Actually, we begin tomorrow. We have 3 elementary schools that fall within the 11762 zip code. And that was a little bit alarming, quite frankly, because they're elementary schools. But I am bound by mandate to test those schools that physically reside in that zip code. And for us, those are the 3 schools of Birch Lane, Eastlake, and McKenna schools, all K-5 buildings. So we will be testing, as I said, starting tomorrow. We have contracted with a healthcare agency that will come in. They are certified medical practitioners that will come into our building and test all those people who volunteered.
And Dr. Liz, I know this pandemic has left a lot of students feeling, that isolation from friends because there's not that same ability to have extracurricular activities or, to even have a normal lunchtime. So it's really put them at a higher risk for developing anxiety and depression.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely seeing an influx of children, adolescents, young adults who are feeling very anxious about the virus and contracting the virus. And a lot of other teens, especially, who right now are feeling incredibly isolated. They want to be with their friends, and school from home is really not as gratifying. They're distracted, they're not engaged, and they don't want to see themselves on their computer. And it's just, the learning environment is different, and it just looks like we're all very distracted and not motivated. And I'm seeing so many students who were once really top students who are just can't get themselves motivated, and they're sad. It's just a very different environment, and the fact that it's been going on for this long is just starting to wear everybody down.
Sure. We asked a question on Twitter. We put out a poll, and it was, do you think there should be mandatory COVID-19 testing in yellow zone schools? And 815 people so far have weighed in on that poll to let us know what they're thinking as part of this conversation. And right now, when we take a look at the numbers there, it's 60% of or it actually just changed in real time on us, but 59.8% now, saying yes, they do think this testing is necessary. But we do have a comment in Lucille from John, who says there will be no sort of testing done on my children whatsoever. So as a superintendent that needs to hit that 20% mark, and you want those people to come in voluntarily, be a mix of students and staff, you must be hearing a lot of people like John, kind of voicing that concern.
Most definitely. And I know that yesterday our PTA did hold a press conference regarding this. Look, we all agree that we want our children to be in school, in person, because as the doctor said, there is no substitute for that. But with this mandate comes the 20%, or if you don't meet that threshold, then the governor has the option of directing you to go fully remote. So I think with that as an incentive, there were many parents that did sign their children up for this testing. And once again, I want to stress that this is completely voluntary. In Massapequa, it's a bit more distasteful simply because we have had such low infection rates in our elementary schools that really I don't want to use the word target, because they were simply, those are the schools that are within that zip code area, but it becomes a little bit dicier with little ones, so therefore parents they want their schools to remain open. They want everyone to be safe. We've been reading lately some articles regarding those silent spreaders. We know that most of our little ones are asymptomatic. They they don't even know that they're positive. The way we've actually determined that they're positive is maybe a household member has tested positive, so mom brings them over, to be tested, and then discovers it that way. So that's really it. Yes, it is. It's distasteful for many of us.
And Liz, that's got to be hard to navigate those conversations with your kids, whether you decide they're not going to be, or if they are, what's going to happen at school.
For a lot of kids, I think that the idea of testing at school is going to create some anxiety because we're mixing two domains, education and the medical domain. And usually you go and get this test at the pediatrician's office or wherever, and now we're mixing worlds for our children. And so for children who are anxious, who now don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen or how uncomfortable it's going to be, I think it's going to create some anxiety. But at the same time, I understand it from your perspective that you have to meet a quota and that we need to keep the majority of the schools safe. And there's also the convenience factor. We don't have to go and stand on lines or anything like that. So it's a big mix, and I feel like you really have to consider it on a very individual basis for your child and how comfortable you are as a parent.
Absolutely. All right. I do see all of your questions coming in, and we're going to get to as many of them as we possibly can as we continue our conversation on education. Now, for parents, if you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you're feeling angry, we're going to talk about some steps on how you can manage those COVID feelings. And remember, if you want to join the conversation, now is the time to do it. You can submit your questions and comments right now on our social media pages as we continue this conversation on education here on News 12. Hi to everybody on Facebook and to my guests. We are in the first commercial break, but still streaming live on Facebook. So, Liz, we are going to start with you at the top, say, okay, parents, what you're feeling. I have a quick full screen, thanks to Andy, that was made. And let me just remind myself what it says. Okay, that's not what it says. It says, thank you, Jimmy. It says, get up and get out, create start and end times, get heard, and ask for help. So if we can try to do that, fairly quickly, because we do now all of a sudden have a lot of questions coming in. So I do want to let you both know what the questions are and then where we're going to start. So we do have that one that I told you before about that distance learning isn't working. And then we have what is being done about Burner? So Burner is the middle school in Massapequa. So I guess Lucille can give us an update specific to Burner. And then we have, my son used to be great in math, and now he's falling behind. He's in the 4th grade. And then we have, we're collectively failing our students. Nothing is being done to attenuate learning loss. Okay. Sorry, hold on one second. There's another one matriculating right now, and it is, has anyone heard how the buses our children take to school are disinfected or clean? Transportation is a big issue in my opinion. Lucille, can you answer that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So, and then we have another one. Okay. Start testing the community that is driving up the numbers, not our elementary age students where the numbers are minimal. Okay. All right, so I think what we need to do in the essence of time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 1 minute to hit each topic if the clock is on the field right now. So I'm only going to have one of you weigh in because 30 seconds won't be enough time to answer it. But if we can just try to be shorter, we can just get to more people, because if that's where we are now, we're going to trend too long. Okay. Thank you. All right. What was the time back? I'm sorry. 30 seconds away right now. And we'll come back with those 4 quick tips. And if you want to maybe tweet that out today or something, that you'll post it on Twitter or maybe your Facebook page, so that way if people want to read the whole article, they can.
Remind me which one that was.
That was the blog that you did on the 4 steps to dealing with your frustration and anger.
Thank you.
Sure. Welcome back to our live special report, The New Normal. And just a reminder, you can join the conversation by heading over to our Facebook pages and adding your questions or comments. And joining me this morning is DrLiz Matheis. She's a licensed clinical psychologist and certified school psychologist. And Lucille Ioconis. Lucille's the superintendent of Massapequa Public Schools. So, DrLiz, I know that you recently wrote a blog, and one of the quotes that stood out to me was, "The feelings of rage are real," but you actually had 4 steps for those people that are feeling maybe close to burnout right now, those parents.
I think self-care is more important than ever right now for parents, because we are in this and we're trying to balance multiple worlds in a way that is truly impossible. And I know that a lot of us are feeling frustrated and tired and overwhelmed a lot. So it's really important to take care of yourself. And one of the things that I practice myself is to get up and get out, meaning set up some time for yourself to do something by yourself, maybe not in the house because you can still hear your children and your family members, but to do something physical to take care of your body, to set up some beginning and end times for your workday and breaks in there. Definitely stop and have a lunch break and just decompress, because you're managing school and you're managing your workday and your home. You're serving as many things for everybody.
Absolutely. And we do have a poll out there on Twitter right now if you want to join the conversation about testing that needs to happen in New York schools if the zip code hits that yellow zone status. So right now, it's still, yes, it's still trending at 60% right now, with 871 people weighing in on that one. So I do want to jump to some of the questions because obviously people have some strong thoughts on this. Max joining the conversation saying, "When are we going to wake up from our collective delusion that distance learning is working? Our children are being saddled with progressing learning loss. The longer we insist on perpetrating the charade, the greater the danger of causing generational loss of knowledge." Now, I know, DrLiz, your kids are still on a hybrid, right? And they're doing some remote learning.
Mm-hmm. I think we've never done a pandemic before, and I think everyone is really doing the best that they can, and we don't really have anything we can reference. Remote learning, from my opinion, is not working. It's not the same level of engagement. It's not the same level of instruction, and our children are suffering. But the one thing that does comfort me as a mom first is the fact that all our children are facing this, and it's just not my child or yours. And so overall, something will have to adjust in the future.
All right, and Debbie wants to know, so Lucille, this will be for you. What is being done about Berner? And Berner is the middle school in your district.
Right, and if we look at it, Berner has had the most positive cases, as well as we've needed to close Berner. But what people need to understand is that Berner, we have been back full at Berner. Our district is back full. We are not on hybrid any longer and haven't been since October, whatever, toward the end of October. So our children are most definitely present in school, and I agree with what's been said. We should not say that distance learning is the optimum way to learn, because it certainly is not. But we're doing the best that we can given the circumstances of this pandemic and health crisis.
All right, Cassandra says, "My son used to be great in math, and now he's falling behind. He's in the 4th grade. Lucille, are a lot of parents voicing that concern?"
Most definitely, and we have what I'm very proud of in Massapequa is that we haven't abandoned our support programs in reading and in mathematics. So what I would say to this parent is, please reach out to your school and see what extra type of help your child can have, because most definitely, yes, there are gaps that were caused last spring when schools abruptly shut down in March, and they continue to this day.
All right, Miles says, "We're collectively failing our students. Nothing is being done to attenuate learning loss." And I think, DrLiz, we really hear the frustration in some of these comments.
I think we're all concerned that our children have fallen behind since last March, and many of them have. I'm experiencing it on a personal level with my son, and we're doing the best that we can. Absolutely seek out the supports at your school, reach out to your teachers, let them guide you as much as possible. If you're seeing signs of a learning disability, reach out to your child's study team. Definitely do take advantage of what's around and available, but at this point, we're all feeling it.
Absolutely. Teresa saying, has anyone heard how the buses that take our children to school, how they're disinfected or clean? Transportation is a big issue, in my opinion. Lucille, I'm sure transportation has to be a component of what you're doing.
Absolutely. And yes, buses are, in Massapequa, our major bus carrier is Educational Bus Transport. And they sanitize those buses after every run and between every runs. So therefore, yes, it's extremely important. And buses, students need to be masked, they need to be distanced, and windows need to be open.
All right, Christy is saying, start testing the community that is driving up the numbers, not our elementary age students where the numbers are minimal. And I'm sure, Lucille, you just held a forum with the state senator to try to get the conversation going for the community.
Yeah, most definitely, and that is our position, particularly on the elementary level. I want to add, though, and I think that this was a missing piece, when we begin testing tomorrow, the testing will begin prior to student arrival. So actually we're scheduling it beginning at 7 a.m. Because we didn't want a situation where children were called out from class, called out of class. And also parents are permitted to remain with their children during the testing. You just don't drop them off at the door. You can remain with them if you choose to. And I believe that we'll have close to 100% of our parents staying with their little ones.
All right, we are going to continue to answer your questions as we talk education. You're watching News 12. One, two, three. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, everybody on Facebook. So we have about 30 seconds for both of your closing thoughts as we head into this holiday season and families are trying to navigate, big decisions about who they're going to see and what they're going to do. Obviously, it's a time where people love to gather and be together, but we're still not sure all the repercussions that we're going to see from people's decisions about Thanksgiving. So I guess I'm just going to ask you your final takeaways for where we are right now and as we look towards this holiday season that's coming up. So we'll have about 30-ish seconds because this whole section is only 2 minutes. So I just have a little intro at the top, and then I need to tease some stuff about the stimulus bill because they might be releasing some information on what they're going to be doing as early as today. So I just need to leave myself enough time to talk about that. So I'm just going to say your final thoughts, and so whatever you want that to be, whether it, well, I'm not going to tell you what your thoughts are. You know what your thoughts are. But whatever you want your thoughts to be, you have about 30 seconds to let you know, and I'll just put my hand out if I need to take it back if we're too close to the commercial break. Sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Gosh, let's push up financial lawmakers are said to be closing a $908 billion pandemic relief, particularly what's included, what's not. The Russian is just to get it done. Told me okay. I don't know why this keeps doing that. What's our time back? Okay, we're 30 seconds away, just so you know. $15 seconds now. Lucille, I'll start with you, okay? Okay.
Sure.
Welcome back to our live special report, The New Normal, as we continue this conversation on education. And joining us, the superintendent of Massapequa Schools. So, Lucille, what are your final thoughts now?
Well, as we approach this holiday season, just a few weeks out, I ask everyone to be very, very mindful of the family gatherings. Look, we're all sad. You know, I come from a big Italian family, and we're not going to be getting together this year. But it is imperative that we be mindful and remember that we have to have each other's backs here. You know what? Hopefully, the holiday season of 2021 will be very different than what we're experiencing right now. You know, be there for each other and just be extra careful, please.
All right. Thank you, Lucille. And Dr. Liz, your final thoughts?
I can't emphasize enough how much self-care is really important right now for all of us. This is a very stressful time. It's cold, we can't gather, the holidays. Find the traditions you enjoy and make sure to decompress away from the screens at the end of each day because we are so overstimulated.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Liz Matheis and Lucille Ioconis, for joining in on this conversation today. And a big question now is what's next? Well, Congress is trying to push out financial relief. Lawmakers are said to be closing in on a $908 billion pandemic relief bill. So we're going to take a look at what it is included and also what's not included. The rush is on, though, to get this deal done. 12 million Americans, their unemployment will expire the day after Christmas. Money for our small businesses is running out. We talk with Marty Cantor and answer your financial questions tomorrow. So thank you for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Hashagen. Thank you both so much. It was a pleasure having you on again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.